One of the most prolific shoujo manga artists of the 1990s is Wataru Yoshizumi. When you think of shoujo manga classics, a few of her works come to mind, most notable being Marmalade Boy. Alongside Ai Izawa, known for Nana, and Miho Obana, who created Kodocha, Yoshizumi would become one of the most important mangaka featured in Ribon magazine. Today, we are going to discuss her rise to fame, analyze 3 of her most successful manga, and look at what she's currently up to in the present day. Wataru Yoshizumi was born on June 18, 1963 in Tokyo, Japan. After attending university with intentions of becoming a magazine editor, she eventually started professionally drawing shoujo manga, debuting with Radical Romance in Ribon magazine in 1984. Yoshizumi's first notable work is a 9-volume series that began in 1988 called Handsome Girl, also known as Handsome Girlfriend. She wouldn't find worldwide mainstream success until Marmalade Boy, which was released in 1992. After the success of Marmalade Boy, Yoshizumi would experiment with different genres and themes in her storytelling, such as making the protagonist of her next manga, Kimishika Iranai, a bit more mature than her previous works. She would then create her first and only magical girl series, Ultra Maniac, which is considered to be her most other famous work besides Marmalade Boy. While Ultra Maniac failed to reach the same level of popularity as Marmalade Boy, it still received its own anime adaptation and remains a cult classic among fans. In the mid-2000s, Yoshizumi would branch out from shoujo manga into josei, publishing titles such as Cherish in 2005 and Cappuccino in 2008. After dabbling in josei stories, she would create a sequel to Marmalade Boy. Before we dive into her current endeavors, I'd like to go over 3 of her most notable works: Handsome Girl, Marmalade Boy, and Ultra Maniac. Keep in mind that there will be minor spoilers for all 3 series in this video. So now, let's go ahead and dive into Yoshizumi's first notable work, Handsome Girl. Yoshizumi's earliest success, Handsome Girl, is also her longest series, spanning a total of 9 volumes. It was also her first work to get an anime adaptation in the form of an OVA. An article about Yoshizumi from the Japanese site Yomiuri describes the series as brilliantly balancing the glamour of the entertainment world with a down-to-earth romance. Handsome Girl is about a 14-year-old actress named Mio Hagiwari, who meets an aspiring director her age named Ichiya Kamiagi. Their first meeting, however, isn't pleasant, with Ichiya telling Mio that she's a bad actress. Ichiya takes show business very seriously, which causes him to come across as rude and standoffish with Mio and everyone else around him. The relationship between Mio and Ichiya, against the backdrop of show business, is the best part of the series in my opinion. Ichiya encourages Mio to become a better actress, in his own very direct way of course, and Mio helps Ichiya find out what's really important to him, whether it's his true feelings for her or making the right decisions regarding his career. One of the first key scenes between Mio and Ichiya is when he describes her as a handsome girl, which he defines as a woman who has a calm yet firm personality. The early love triangle between Mio and her best friends Teru and Aya is engaging, even with the obvious fact that Ichiya will become her primary love interest. One of the best scenes in the first half of Handsome Girl has to be the motorcycle scene. This scene also acts as the climax of the OVA. It's Yoshizumi drama at its finest, and we don't know whether Ichiya will live or die when he decides to do a motorcycle stunt by himself in his movie. After this chapter is when we start to go into the second half of the manga. Yoshizumi describes Handsome Girl as a 2-part story, with the first part focusing on Mio and Ichiya getting to know each other, and part 2 focusing on their relationship once they finally get together. But of course, the two aren't going to immediately live happily ever after. Ichiya leaves Japan to work on a movie in Hollywood, where he meets the director's son named Keith and all of his friends who attend film school there. Keith acts as a mentor figure for Ichiya. Even though their friendship implies that Ichiya would be challenged and grow as a character, it is solely used for drama, which I thought was very disappointing. When Mio and Ichiya finally reunite in America, Keith tries to drive a wedge between the two in hopes that Ichiya will stay and attend film school with him and his friends, believing that he has the potential to become the next big director in show business. Instead of encouraging character development, Keith and Ichiya's time in Hollywood is used as nothing more than a tool to create conflict in Mio and Ichiya's will-they-won't-they relationship. This is a major problem, specifically in the second half of Handsome Girl, where characters are created solely for the purpose of driving a wedge between our male and female leads. Even though I didn't find the drama too over the top or unrealistic, it did get tiresome after a while. As for the final arc of the manga introducing Ichiya's cousin, I found it to be very underwhelming. Ichiya's cousin is significantly older with a son, and you guessed it, he's interested in Mio. Not really because he wants a romantic relationship with her, but because his son has grown attached to her, and he thought that she would make a good mother figure for him. So the only logical conclusion is to ask for her hand in marriage, I guess? This is wrong on so many levels, with the awkward age gap and trying to find a replacement mother for his son. And also the fact that Mio was already in a relationship with his cousin, it's just a really weird note to end the manga on. Handsome Girl was still able to establish Yoshizumi's strong ability at writing drama. What I love about her work is the fact that each situation does at least feel somewhat realistic and it never gets too soap opera-y, even if the love triangles can get exhausting at times. I think this Mal reviewer said it best. Handsome Girl is a late 80s, early 90s shoujo romance. Mio is an up-and-coming actress who falls for Ichiya, who aspires to be a director. It seems like it's on par with many other shoujo of that time period. I feel like it has a pretty major flaw in the writing. It feels like the author likes to keep throwing more and more rivals and drama onto the pile, rather than spend time to properly flesh out anything. Even with this criticism, I think Yoshizumi is a master at making these shocking moments feel just right, and never out of place most of the time. We can definitely see this style of drama from Handsome Girl bleed over into her next major work, and the one she is most famous for, Marmalade Boy. Marmalade Boy, a 90s shoujo classic which received a highly successful anime adaptation in 1994, and its own video game on Game Boy and Super Nintendo for some reason. If you're just starting to get into shoujo, this is one of those titles that's considered a must-read, and I'll never understand why. Marmalade Boy is about a girl named Miki, whose life is turned upside down when her parents decide to divorce and swap partners with another couple, who have a son named Yu. Miki is rightfully outraged by the situation, with Yu seemingly apathetic about it all. Miki and Yu have to live under the same roof with both sets of parents, with Miki quickly falling in love with Yu over the course of the series. Where Marmalade Boy shines is with its side characters. Ginta, Miki's childhood friend, acts as an early rival in love until he eventually develops a relationship with Yu's ex-girlfriend Arimi. I would argue, though, that the most interesting character in Marmalade Boy is Miki's best friend Mako. Mako is part of the school's literature club and she enjoys writing. However, one day in the school library, Yu discovers her together with her teacher Nomura kissing. Eventually, the school finds out about this relationship, and Nomura has to resign and tells Mako goodbye before he goes off to live in another town. Mako and Nomura-sensei come together over common interests in literature. Due to Mako's troubled home life, I think she saw this relationship as a rebellion against her strict and unstable parents. As the first major arc of Marmalade Boy concludes and her relationship with Nomura ends, Mako is able to be independent and be happy on her own, right? She's able to work on being a successful writer and realize that her relationship with her sensei was inappropriate and predatory, right? About halfway through the series, Miki gets a job at an ice cream parlor where she meets an aloof young man named Kei. Kei has a reserved yet blunt personality which rubs Miki the wrong way at first, especially after he manipulates Yu into thinking that Miki threw away the bracelet that he got for her. After they find out the truth, it's revealed that Kei fell in love with Miki because he felt comfortable opening up to her about his past as a piano player. Kei fades into the background after he's forgiven for causing drama between Miki and Yu. Out of all the characters in the series, I thought that Kei was the most compelling next to Mako, and it's a shame that his significance in the plot was reduced to just an obstacle between Yu and Miki. Personally, I thought Miki had more chemistry with Kei than with any of the other characters. Kei also has one of the more interesting backstories, becoming a musical prodigy and dealing with the obligation and pressures that come from being an accomplished musician. However, because this is an early Yoshizumi manga where characters are only utilized for creating drama, Kei is quickly pushed into the background in favor of the lackluster romance between Miki and Yu. So I've talked a lot about the secondary cast of Marmalade Boy, probably because they're the most interesting part of the series. So let's look into the relationship between Miki and Yu now. As mentioned before, Miki and Yu suddenly become step-siblings after their parents swap partners and remarry. They decide to all live under one roof, making things very uncomfortable for Miki, and Yu doesn't seem to care at all. So of course, this greatly annoys her, but at the same time, she can't help but find him mysterious and interesting. Early on in the manga, we even get that title reference again, with Miki comparing Yu to Marmalade, hence Marmalade Boy. Yu keeps his emotions close to his chest, and whenever he is overwhelmed by them, he tends to disappear, leaving Miki wondering where he is or how he's feeling. Miki and Yu are the opposites in that regard. Miki is very emotional and never shies away from expressing her feelings, with Yu always being on guard. Yu tends to not take life very seriously and likes to tease Miki and the other characters, especially Genta. I did get a good laugh out of some of their interactions. We find out later that Yu dreams of being an architect, and pursues this dream later in the series. While coming to terms with his feelings for Miki and his desire to study architecture, Yu is also grappling with the mystery surrounding his real father. Despite little to no romantic chemistry with Miki, I do think Yu as a standalone character has a lot going for him. He's an acquired taste, if you will. I found him to be incredibly irritating at first, but he grew on me more and more. I still don't think he's quite as interesting as Kei, Meiko, or even Genta, but if I had to grade him, he's a C+ male shoujo protagonist at best. A little above average, but just enough to keep me reading until the end to find out what happens to him. As for the actual relationship between Miki and Yu, it honestly feels a little forced. As mentioned before, Miki seems to have more chemistry with Genta at first, and later with Kei. Yet Miki and Yu always seem to find their way back to one another. I mean, they do live in the same house after all. Not only does it feel forced, but the later implications that they might be related by blood makes it all the more uncomfortable. I won't spoil it, but I must admit the wild twists and turns about the true nature of their relationship were pretty fun towards the end of the manga. As fun as it is getting on a roller coaster that goes upside down a few times and then you vomit after it's over. So is Marmalade Boy actually worthy of its status as a shoujo classic? Maybe? It definitely contains a lot of those quote-unquote problematic tropes that 90s shoujos are known for, but the actual story is mid at best. Sure, there's enough to keep you invested until the end, but there's just not enough substance to make it stand out or have any meaningful impact. It was difficult to emotionally connect with any of these characters apart from Meiko and Kai personally, and I thought a lot of the plot twists were just there to make things more dramatic. A lot of things just happen for the sake of suspense without any real meaning behind it. We rarely learn anything new or interesting about a character during or after these moments, and relationships don't really strengthen after a conflict. They just kind of go back to how they were before, with them being like, well, thank God this stressful situation is over. It's very frustrating because it definitely had potential to be really good and up there with series like Fruits Basket or Kadocha, but instead, it feels like a hollow copy of these. Speaking of potential, I want to talk about Yoshizumi's author notes from the last volume of Marmalade Boy, as she goes over her original idea for the story. Initially, the characters were going to be the opposite gender, with Miki originally planned to be a hot-tempered and naive boy who might have been a basketball player instead of a tennis player. Yu's original female design is described as charming and a little devilish. Genta and Meiko's opposites are also revealed, with Meiko's being described as a handsome, dark-haired poker player. Unfortunately, Yoshizumi's editors wanted to make the main character a female, with one particular editor she calls Mr. T, stating that a main male character written by a woman would be unmanly. Do we really have to have this conversation? Other notable ideas from the original concept of Marmalade Boy include Miki and Yu actually being blood-related siblings and then breaking up, with Yu and Meiko possibly becoming a couple after high school. Apparently the editor Mr. T did not approve of these ideas either, leading to Yoshizumi writing the ending that we all know today.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
I am curious as to whether or not Yoshizumi's original plan for Marmalade Boy would have been more or less successful. From what little we know, it's hard to say. Would I recommend this manga? Only to the most devout shoujo fans. All the wasted potential of this manga left me so frustrated that I just couldn't recommend it to just anyone in good faith. I've heard Marmalade Boy compared to Kadocha a lot, with Kadocha even being referred to as Marmalade Boy on crack, and this is wildly inaccurate. The only similarities these two series share is that the main characters look a lot alike, but that's really it. Marmalade Boy lacks the substance, deep character development, and even comedy that's rich in Kadocha. If you want a really good 90s rom-com, I would check out Kadocha instead. I mean, I made a whole channel about it, so it has to be good, right? After Marmalade Boy, Yoshizumi would find additional success with her slice-of-life magical girl rom-com, Ultra Maniac. This was her second series to get an OVA as well as an anime adaptation that heavily differed from the manga. It was also the first series that strayed from her usual, more realistic approach to storytelling. Ultra Maniac is about a witch named Nina Sakura, who befriends Ayu Tateshi, a normal girl who goes to Nina's school. Nina may be a witch, but she is a magical school dropout who has to attend normal school while relying on a magical computer to do her magic for her. Through multiple magical mishaps, Nina and Ayu quickly become close friends, navigating school life and teenage romance. And you guessed it, the title of this manga is also referenced in the first volume, with Aya calling Nina an Ultra Maniac because of her magical abilities. Throughout the manga, we meet other members of the Magic Kingdom where Nina is from, such as her love-struck childhood friend Yuta, and his flirtatious older sister who eventually works as a teacher at the school. Like with most of Yoshizumi's works, there's the usual love triangle shenanigans here, but there's the added element of fantasy which I think makes it work better and feel more entertaining. Part of Ultra Maniac's charm is watching Nina come up with a plan to get Ayu together with her crush Tetsushi, and seeing how it never goes as expected. Some of my favorite situations include Aya and Nina turning into boys so they could spy on Tetsushi and his friends at a karaoke bar, and a magical camera being introduced that reveals who a person likes, causing havoc and confusion. In the previous works mentioned in the video, I talk about how I found the romantic roadblocks to be redundant and annoying at worst, but Ultra Maniac makes them a lot more bearable. I never felt frustrated when it took a bit longer for characters to get together romantically, because I wanted to see what silly harebrained scheme Nina or even Ayu would cook up next. Also, because of this added comedic layer to the drama, it made the romantic payoffs a lot more satisfying and meaningful. Similar to Handsome Girl, I would argue that the weakest part of Ultra Maniac is the ending. I won't spoil much of it, but basically Nina has to make a tough decision regarding her future as a witch, which could mean sacrificing her relationships in the human world. I also found some of the later love triangle drama to be a bit pointless and more or less there just to stretch the story out. There's an underlying theme of being true to yourself and honest with the people you love in Ultra Maniac that I really liked and felt was a very positive message for young readers. The initial relationship between Ayu and Tetsushi conveys this message nicely, as the two eventually came together after dropping their cool, calm, and collected act with one another. With Nina's help, of course. There are also multiple instances where Nina learns that the best thing that she can do is be honest about her intentions or feelings as well, even if it's something that's hard for her friends to hear. Why Ultra Maniac works so well and better than a lot of Yoshizumi's other works in my opinion, is the fact that the world outside of the interpersonal relationships is a lot more interesting, which makes it easier to engage with the story and relate to the characters. Learning about how the Magic Kingdom works and bringing in the magical gadgets was a fun gimmick and added so much to what could have been just another rehash of Marmalade Boy. I also like the focus on Ayu and Nina's friendship rather than a primary focus on the romantic relationships, which was incredibly refreshing coming off of Marmalade Boy. Seeing Yoshizumi's ability at writing close female friendships improve over the years is evident when we compare and contrast the main friendships from Handsome Girl, Marmalade Boy, and Ultra Maniac. Mia and Aya's friendship in Handsome Girl didn't have much depth outside of their rivalry for Ichiya. In Marmalade Boy, some of the best moments involved Miki and Mako's interactions, although they often only came together solely to comfort each other about their boy troubles. In Ultra Maniac, Yoshizumi finally builds a solid best friend relationship that feels authentic and is also entertaining. Yoshizumi has been very active throughout the 2000s and 2010s, maybe even more so than in the 90s. She's created a few josei titles, the most recent being Caramel Cinnamon Popcorn, which is also the series she's currently working on. Caramel Cinnamon Popcorn started in 2019 and is currently being published in Kokohana Magazine, a josei magazine that launched in 1994. Caramel Cinnamon Popcorn's art is absolutely gorgeous and seems to be off to a promising start with its story about an office worker who bonds over sweets with a security guard that she runs into. I've only read the first volume because unfortunately the rest hasn't been translated yet, but I definitely want to check out the next one when it becomes available. So far, it's a pretty chill and cozy read. In a recent interview with Yoshizumi on her new series, she responds to a question about writing a romantic relationship between two working adults. People close to me often tell me this, but it seems I have a straightforward personality, so I guess that's why I naturally express my feelings that way. Even as an adult, I feel like my romantic feelings haven't changed much since high school, so I don't really think about it. And I don't really consider realism in the story, and my style isn't one that pursues realism to that extent, so I guess it's fine as long as it doesn't become too unnatural. This video covers only a tiny fraction of the manga created by Wataru Yoshizumi. If I had to define her general style in one word, I would say dramatic. A quote from Yoshizumi on her development of Marmalade Boy also gives us more insight into her objectives when creating manga. Ribon is a magazine targeted at upper elementary school students. Even though the story involves a complicated family situation, I thought the readers would accept it without thinking too deeply about it, so I didn't depict Miki's struggles too much. I think I was able to portray it in a fun way precisely because it was Ribon. Unlike much of Miho Obana's work, which deeply explores the psychology of her characters that's talked about extensively on this channel, Yoshizumi takes a more fun and lighthearted approach with her storytelling. Her stories are primarily about the romantic setups and moments between her characters rather than their chaotic home lives. In other words, Yoshizumi's manga are more about escaping reality rather than accurately portraying it. Even though most of her stories take place in a realistic setting, a lot of the escapism occurs within different idealized forms of relationships. Long distance, age gap, and childhood friends to lovers are just a handful of the romance tropes she explores. Whatever you may be into, there's something to be enjoyed in each of Yoshizumi's works. If I had to rank the manga talked about today, I would put Marmalade Boy last, Handsome Girl second, and Ultra Maniac first. Marmalade Boy had the potential to be good, but seemed to squander it at every turn. Even though I found the plot to be a total disaster, I do really like some of the characters and found myself rooting for them by the end. Handsome Girl also has this problem in the second half with wasted potential, but I personally felt the romance between Mio and Ichiya had a lot more chemistry than Miki and Yu's, making it easier to connect with them and invest in their relationship. Ultra Maniac is the best of the three, as I feel it has the most well-rounded narrative and blends comedy, drama, and romance really well, without having to rely too much on those tiresome love triangles to keep things moving. Thank you so much for watching the video. Do you have a favorite manga by Yoshizumi? Would you like me to make more videos like this in the future, going over other interesting work by specific shoujo mangaka? As always, please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one. See ya!